Level Up is a regular podcast that brings you topics to help you perform at work and in life at your very highest level. Your host is Dan Chiodo, an executive coach, corporate trainer, and author. He is president of Impact Training and Executive Coaching. And now, here's Dan.
Well, thank you, Jesse. Appreciate that. Welcome to Level Up Studios. It's your link to lifelong learning. So, everyone has their own perspective in life. We've come from different places, experienced different things. Some people, after receiving a formal education, go right into a field of work and that's where they stay. And others maybe get an education and end up in something completely different because that's what makes them happy. And for some people, there is this detour for the beginning of their life or maybe longer where they enter the military service. And when I meet people like that, I like to talk to them and see what experiences they've had. I'm especially interested in what they've learned in the military service and what they can then apply in business. So today's guest is very unique. The minute I first talked to him and we talked about the business he's in, we also talked about some of the things in the military, and I saw that connection right away. He's been in the automotive business and really started in that as a child, but also had 9 years of service in the United States Army. Now today, Bryan is a claims director for a reinsurance organization called Sidecars, which is taking the country by storm. I would like you to meet him, and we're going to talk a little bit about his vast experience. Hello, Bryan. Bryan Foster. Nice to have you here.
Good afternoon, young man.
Thank you for taking time for Level Up. I appreciate that very much.
Good to be here.
Well, let's start with one of the roles that you have at your company. You're doing training with people. And I want to take that back to the Army. I bet you had plenty of time to train people there. Tell us about that a little bit, your experience in doing that.
So my time in the military wore multiple hats. Started out as electronic warfare engineering as a young soldier. Went to Fort Devens. Actually gave me opportunity to evening courses at MIT because we were just down the road from wonderful 77 Mass Avenue. And as I got back to my home unit and went through, going through the motions, going through the ranks, you find that you get up and coming soldiers and troops that, they're going to get that book knowledge from going to their courses in school, but they don't have that hands-on practical knowledge. We took a lot of our equipment to Desert Storm. Luckily, I was, capable of, surviving and making it through. But the reality is my hallmark is I spent my 18th birthday on the ground, boots on the ground in Desert Storm when it went from shield to storm. I joined the Army a year early. I was one of those kids that whizzed through school. And so my mom signed off for me to go. But I learned that I had a knack for connecting with other people. Everybody brings different fields of view and thoughts and background. And at that age, it's, hey, you do this and you do that. And here's why. But you learn. Subsequently, as growing up in the Army, so to speak, my MOS was basically reclassified for a depot level MOS. I had no desire to be, behind the rear kind of guy. So had the opportunity, went to counterintelligence, loved it. Of course, you move up the chain because, you've been there for a while. And people send you to NCOES courses, your non-commissioned officers enhancement courses. Come back and you're still connecting with your younger troops and squad members and company members.
Excellent.
That's the big thing for me.
Yes. You align with the concept that trust builds cohesion. I love that. Could you explain that a little bit?
So in our daily lives, we encounter people from many walks, many views. They don't all have to perfectly align with yours. This world would be boring. Essentially, if you look at the root cause of every issue we ever had, it's communication. In our field, I'm just a lowly claims director for a warranty company, but I love what I do. And I thank God every day that my boss hired me and had a bad lapse of judgment that day. And by the way, I spent 2 hours working on my hair. Is it okay?
It is perfect. It is perfect.
But at the end of the day, when you look at the grand scheme of things in life, everybody has a different field of view. They don't communicate on the same level. They don't view things the same as you do. And if everybody did, life would be extremely boring. However, at the root of every bit of communication, every bit of understanding, it's when people come together. With what we do on a daily basis, whether it be military life, law enforcement life, civilian life, business life, oil tycoon life, whatever the case may be, those peers that you work with, the clientele that you work with, they all have a basic desire to be understood, to know that, hey, when you convey information to them, you're giving it to them, straight from the hip. Here's what it is. Here's the absolute innate truth. So when you look at a team coming together, so to speak, a family, when you have trust that you know that the person that's right next to you, right in front of you, right behind you, absolutely trust that not only are you going to be a straight shooter and your integrity is not going to come into question, you've got their best interest at heart, because having their best interest at heart has your best interest at heart, because you're all together in this. So that trust, okay, no matter how hard you try, once you've put it together and it's established, you're going to have team cohesion. When the man above, man below, woman above, woman below, when they know that you've got their best interest, when you're able to communicate effectively as a team, you're able to communicate outside of your team to others. That cohesion, it's impossible to break down. And so you put that trust in your people, you get that trust back.
Yes, it makes so much sense. So much sense. So that would be something that is true in the military, is true in business. Tell me, in the military, as you know, some people are probably great fits for the military, but I'm assuming that sometimes a person is not a good fit.
Unfortunately, there's no cookie cutters in life where you can say, hey, I've got this molded image of this person or this role in life. You have people that come into the equation that view from the outside looking in, top-down view. And unfortunately, you're going to have personnel, especially in the military, where they desire to be in a certain job. They desire to have a certain role. But now we have to take it and look at character and ability, because character plays a large part in what we do every day. Make no bones about it. Our military force is the finest in the world. Each service member in each branch brings something, unique and positive and powerful to what we do. We can be called on to be anywhere, boots on the ground within hours, in defense of our nation. But the truth of it is, when you look at people, okay, everybody has their own unique traits. Everybody has their own unique personality. There's no cookie cutter. Hey, this is the perfect mold for a soldier. It's leadership's job to mold them and develop them and nurture what's already there. Unfortunately, sometimes you get people that it's not there, and it's just not going to be a good fit, no matter how much they desire it. So yeah, there are times when it's just not a good fit. You have people that get put into positions, and And for whatever reason, they just make life miserable for other folks. We try not to let that come into play and do the best we can and try to cooperate, try to understand and try to learn. But yeah, it does happen. Not often, but enough that you just kind of go, oh, here it comes. And
right.
We try to deal with it.
And that can happen in business life too. We see the same thing. In your experience, as you watched that in the service, was it mostly that people would realize themselves that, gee, I'm not a good fit for this? Or was it that maybe officers would have to tell them you're not a good fit?
So by and large, people, if they're honest with themselves and they're self-critical, they'll realize, hey, this isn't for me. And you look at some of the training programs and regimens that the military has in place, and they're designed to weed out, that kind of person. But at the end of the day, if somebody's got that strong will and I want to do this, and they make it through the training and they get deployed into a unit, into the fleet, then what ends up happening is now they're that cog in the wheel that it just doesn't quite mesh with the other cogs. So people recognize, but then you have those that they're just determined. Yeah, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this, and it's all about me. And that character trait will come out in the NCOs and the officers up the food chain. 9 times out of 10, they catch it pretty quick and say, yeah, let's have a talk about this one. So,
right. In executive coaching, when I'm coaching teams, sometimes I will see someone that I think, unless we make a change here, I just don't think it's going to be a good fit for that family. That person may do well somewhere else, but, it has to be a good match for that particular family. So we have that from time to time. Well, before we go to commercial break, could you describe, if you were to describe the best leaders that you saw in the Army, what are some of the characteristics that they have, values and characteristics?
So the best leaders, they're typically they start out as the best followers. They understand cohesion, they understand team, they understand unity. Obviously I'm not old enough to remember when Mr. George Smith Patton, aka the General, invaded Sicily, but the man was boots on the ground on the beach and during the heaviest part of the fighting. You've got men that are buried off into the sand trying to keep their heads down, but he's standing there saying, let's go. He's thinking outside the box. Let's charge the beach. Let's move forward. Let's accomplish our mission. While everybody else is thinking insular, he says, wait, hold up. I've got some big ships with guns behind me. Hey, guys, y'all mind putting some heavy artillery down this way to keep us past these tanks? And all of a sudden, after that happened, these troops are charging forward. He sealed his strength and his leadership with his subordinates. They looked to him and said, wow, this guy's ready to do what needs to be done. He's right here with us. He's not behind us. He's out front. You military intelligence, always out front. Army Rangers lead the way. What's the common thing? That common thing is we're out front. We don't lead from the back, or we're not telling somebody to go there. We're going there ourselves. We're bringing our team with us. Mm-hmm. Those are the leaders that when they get out of the service and they've acclimated back to civilian life, they're the ones that, in my opinion, bring the most to their company because they understand the dynamics of human nature, sometimes at the worst level, sometimes at the best level. But they understand human nature enough to know that, hey, not everybody needs to be an individual in this endeavor, but we need to all be together on this. And if we can work as a cohesive team, then we're all the better for it.
Makes sense. Well, I have plenty of other questions for you, but this might be a good time to move from the Army to business itself in just a moment. This is Dan Chiodo. I am your host for Level Up. My guest today is Bryan Foster. And he's talked about the Army a little bit, but we're going to talk about business too on the flip side of this episode. And yes, this is Level Up. We'll be right back after this.
At Express Employment Professionals
in Gulfport, Mississippi,
in Springfield, Illinois,
in Bend, Oregon,
in Champaign, Illinois,
in Corpus Christi, Texas,
in Jersey City,
in Fishers, Indiana,
here in Knoxville, Tennessee.
We're on a mission.
We're on a mission.
We're on a mission.
We're on a mission.
A mission. A mission.
A mission.
A mission.
Mission.
We're on a mission to put 1 million people to work.
Welcome back. I am Dan Chiodo. Thank you for coming back this episode with Bryan Foster. And we were talking about the Army and his 9 years of service. And now we're going to talk a little bit about business, because as you recall, I said that leadership in the military service can be so helpful when you go into business, into an organization and using it there. So we will talk to him about that. Bryan, I want to start with something you said on the flip side, which I think is so good. You mentioned a couple times, we're a family. We're a family. And I want you to talk about that a little bit. Guide us through this process of we're a family.
So obviously, everybody has different views of what family is. I learned a long time ago from being in the military that your family aren't there by blood. They're there by choice. They're there by association. They stick by you through thick and thin. Where we're at with this company, my team are family. Good, bad, or indifferent. We're all in this together. We all look to one another. We all trust each other to take care of each other. Sometimes you get the phone call, hey, I've got a question. What is this? Is this covered? What is this component they're asking me about? And then you have the other end of that spectrum of, hey, well, this contract says this contract says that. Everybody brings a unique part to it, whether it be big brother, big sister, little sister, crazy uncle. That's not me. But everybody has that role within that family. Everybody has a piece of that pie where we focus on what we do. We all bring everything to the table that we have with a diverse life, right? We all come from different walks, different fields of view. Understanding and recognizing those are strengths and those are values that build a great team, build a family. That's the most important aspect of what we do, because everybody has that little portion that they contribute to the whole, and then it's a better family for it. Now, I mean, I'm not looking for white elephant Christmas from the family, but hey, we all work together, and I love what we do every day.
That's right. And your division, the claims adjusters, are basically in Texas, a lot of folks from there. And I guess not by choice, you may know some of these people, but they all come together. But I'm so impressed with how well you get along, how well you help each other. So it really is a perfect family in action, isn't it?
I wouldn't trade them. Not a single one of them.
That's great. Okay, I'm going to take another term that I've heard you use, and I just love the sound of this. It's called front porch time. You've mentioned that. What is front porch time?
So growing up, obviously, you and I are cut from a different time frame. This world where everybody's technology connected and dependent on cell phones and yada. I mean, I remember the cell phone being in a big, humongous bag that you plugged into your car. I remember pagers. I remember glow-in-the-dark pagers. We've lost something along the way. And is it something that we should have lost? No. Basic values and basic understanding of human nature, of who we are. I remember as a child, in our neighborhood, the parents knew each other by name. This isn't the whole everybody, hey, they wave driving down the street. This is, hey, our concerns of, hey, my son or my daughter going through school, having a rough time, this, that, and that. We didn't have to worry about tutors. We had, hey, little Johnny, little Billy, little Bobby. He's great at that. Sending them down there to help with, getting homework. that developed into a mindset that my grandmother instilled upon me, is that your family is your community, right? Everybody says, oh, it takes a village to raise a child. That's only a small portion of it. Everybody needs to talk. Everybody needs to sit down on the front porch, discuss their views, discuss their understandings. I'm taking a quote out of scripture, but lean not into your own understanding. Wisdom isn't something that you gain overnight. Wisdom is something that you gain by learning, by listening, by empathy, by compassion, and seeing what other people see. Because if we drive around with blinders on, we're missing the mark in life. It applies in business as well. Remember, I mentioned that everybody brings a unique perspective, right? I love our front porch time because we get to see how other people see things. Doesn't matter what part of town they live in, where they're at. Now we're taking this technology that's been thrust up onto the main line, and it's part of what we do. We're using the technology today, but it's no different than if you and I were sitting down on the same front porch at your wonderful house, drinking a cup of tea and having a discussion about things, whether it be business, whether it be life, whether it be the weather. So that front porch, we need to get it back, because that's where most of the learning and healing really is in life. And in business, we need to have an open front porch so that way when the neighbors come by, it's not about selling sales pitches or this, or this or that or the other. It's about, hey, let's communicate,
And we're at a time when not everybody can necessarily be together. What would be great is if we had those front porches and that's where we all were. But we're all over the place. And as you're saying that, and you mentioned technology, I just happened to think about that since we're using video now and things like Zoom and Skype, Meet, it really is a nice way where it can be almost like front porch time. In fact, I've been doing some seminars for groups that haven't been able to meet. And so I noticed that on the screen, they were there with their cups of tea, drinks, just sitting in their living room like we're all together, kind of get that feeling of we're all together. So that's really good, I think. You obviously are a people person. I'm feeling that from all we've discussed, and I hear, rumor is that you are exceptional at customer service. So do you want to speak to that a little bit on customer service?
So my view on customer service, and I pray it's not unique, is what we do. It's everything we do is people-centric, right? Yes, we're in the business of adjudicating claims. Sometimes they're yes, sometimes they're no. Hey, this is what we do, right? But at the end of the day, we're still in the business of people, taking care of people. If we focus on the small details and we forget the big details, whether we're dealing with customers, whether we're dealing with service advisors, service managers, service directors, our individual agents and dealers that are out there, and the dealer principals. They're human beings. They have feelings, they have thoughts, they have emotions. They have a basic understanding in life of, I want to give and get back, right? I want to be treated the way I treat others. So with what we do, let's break it down in life to, I'm in the people business. Prime example, I've got one dealership. I'm not going to name names, but I deal with their service manager and their advisors. And when I call in, of course, they go through the receptionist. To me, customer service is where you take care of people. When someone picks up the phone and answers, and it's a receptionist, and they don't answer with their normal greeting of, hey, it's this business or this auto dealership, and they answer, hi, Bryan. They recognize your number. They recognize a unique connection to you, and they're going out of their way to put that smile there. Hey, how are you doing? everybody is buying or selling. If you think about the fact of life, right? Okay, you want to go out to dinner and you're trying to convince your wife, hey, I want to go here. You're trying to sell, right? So now either she's going to close, yes, we're going to go there for dinner, or she's going to close you on, no, I want to go here for dinner, right? So now she's selling you. But at the end of the day, it's still personality, it's still people. Doesn't matter whether you're changing light bulbs, doesn't matter whether you're the CEO of an automotive, corporation. It doesn't matter if you're the CEO of a warranty company. It's all about the people that you interact with on a daily basis. And once those people that you interact with realize that what they're getting from you is a genuine emotion, genuine care, genuine compassion, they're going to be more receptive to what you have to say because they know that it's honest, it's straightforward, and you're there to help wherever you can. That in a nutshell is for me.
That is good. And that leads us to something else that you talk about, wanting to touch as many people as possible. Talk about that. So
we're here for a limited time. I'm not throwing up any cheesy country and western lines from back in the mid 90s, but it's true. We're only here for a finite amount of time in the grand scheme of things in this universe, right? We are creatures of habit. We are, creatures of connection. We are creatures of the herd, right? Whether we admit it or not, it's truth. Everybody we interact with, I desire to have a positive interaction. I know that there's going to be that 2% that, no matter what you do, you're just not going to connect with them. But I'm going to still try. I'm going to still endeavor. The personalities are diverse. You're just not going to click with everybody. That's why when you look on a service drive, you have the service advisors are from all different walks of life, right? They all have different views, different thought processes, and you'll have clientele and customers that they will specifically want to work with a certain service advisor. I've tried to make it here in our claims department where that same mindset applies. I've told the guys, hey, I'm not going to ever be offended if a customer calls in or if a dealership calls in or if an advisor calls in and says, hey, I want to talk to so-and-so. I will not be offended. I'm going to be flattered because that tells me that, hey, they've touched that person's life. They've connected with them. They've established rapport. They've established trust. Well, aren't those keys to success? So yeah, that's the big thing is I want to make sure everybody we deal with, myself including, I want to make sure that we're touching those lives. We're connecting with these people on a emotional level where, hey, if I need something, I've got my go-to people,
That's a wonderful idea. As you're talking about that and you say service advisor, I think of the service advisor that we deal with for our car. And it's very interesting. We have thought about maybe purchasing a different brand from time to time. And every time we say, but we wouldn't have this person as our service advisor. And it always brings us back to that relationship. So very well said. Very well said. Well, before we go, and looking at the background there that I see, I don't suppose you have a hobby that's fun or anything, is it?
Origami. My passion in life is aviation. It's been that way since my childhood. I grew up in a military and aviation family. The bug apparently doesn't leave the gene pool. And yeah, that's my getaway. Get the notorious $100 hamburger, go out and get to fly around the southern U.S. And I've got friends that I plan on catching up to just in case they see this podcast because they're a service director for one of our major organizations that's closer between you and I, although totally bald, not handsome like myself. Yeah, that's my love. My wife, I'm working on it, but she's told me that if I want her flying with me more, I need to think bigger planes. Okay, well, when I win the lottery, So that's my love and passion is aviation.
That is great. And I'm so glad to hear you say that, because as I talk to some clients, I will ask them, when was your last vacation, or when did you go do something fun? And some of them struggle to think about that. So for you to have something where when it's time to take a break, to have some fun, do something on the weekend, that's a wonderful thing to have for yourself. So it's great. Thank you so much for so much wisdom. I already told my team that when they do the show notes for this podcast, they better get ready, because there are going to be a lot of things that we'll see in the show notes for people. So I thank you so much for your wisdom and your time, Bryan. It's been a pleasure to have you on Level Up.
Thank you for having me, sir.
You bet. And to our audience, thank you for tuning in this episode of Level Up. We have now about 55 to 60 episodes out there of people who are doing great things, who have done great things and still doing it, and talk to you about leveling up. Get to your next level. So we will save you a seat, not just any seat, front row seat at the next Level Up podcast. And now, Dustin, I think it's time to take us home. Cheers.
If you feel like this information was valuable to you, Dan would love it if you'd click the like button and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions or thoughts about today's episode, please leave a comment. Also, if you're a first-time subscriber, be sure to ring that bell to be notified about future episodes. To learn more about what Impact's training and development can do for you and your business, visit impactbydan.com, where you can find more information about executive coaching, corporate training, keynote speaking, and much more. Thanks so much for watching.